Welcome to Slay the Gatekeeper. I'm your host, Courtney Johnson, and I am here to un-gatekeep the gatekept. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoy. Hello, Magdalena.
Hi, Courtney.
Welcome to Slay the Gatekeeper. I'm so happy you're here.
So excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
You're kind of on a podcast tour.
I am.
I love it. Hopefully you'll get some more podcast guest opportunities after this too. And, be your worldwide podcast tour. It's going to be great.
Yeah. Be witching around.
I love it. Well, Magdalena, before we get started, do you want to just tell everyone a little bit about who you are? And also, wait, first, I just want to say I met Magdalena probably like 2 years ago at a festival here. And I was like, that's the coolest woman I've ever seen in my life. And I'm like so scared of her because she's just looks so cool. And I don't know, I just met you. I'm like, you're so powerful. And I hope to be friends with her one day. And now we're friends. So yay.
Oh my God. I'm so happy that synchronicity happened. And, I don't know why, but I get that intimidation factor often. Maybe it's my resting bitch face. I don't know, but I'm actually pretty friendly and loving once you get to know me.
I agree.
And I'm so happy that you gave me a chance.
Yeah. I remember asking one of our other friends, and she was like, "Oh, Magdalena is just like a cat. She'll warm up to you." And I was like, "Okay."
Yeah.
And she was so right.
I'm a slow warm up. Like if you come in too hot, I'm like, whoa, chill.
I know, I can come in really hot too. So would love to learn a bit more about you, your story, your journey. What are you working on? What are you doing? All the things.
That is such a big question. My journey is, I would say, somewhat unique. I come from a background in systems engineering and from a very structured, strict, religious, Mexican conservative background that is pretty much against everything that in the way that I experienced the world. And for many years, I just thought I was crazy. Hearing voices in my head, seeing spirits, and at the same time, being told in school that all that stuff was like of the devil and against religion. And I pushed it aside, and it created this perception of myself that I was not good enough, that there was something wrong with me. And that was a big part of what caused me to be like severely depressed, but also other traumas that I won't go into. But it essentially pushed away this very innate part of myself that connects with the unseen. And at the same time, I also have this very logical brain that for a long time before I had the right tools was in direct competition of that unseen world. And over time, I started getting the right frameworks, the right tools to where then I could understand more from a logical standpoint the magic around me and slowly start to put language to explain what happens around us. That a lot of us, some of us are in tune with it. Some of us kind of have the here and there, the ping, like, oh, I see this synchronicity, or whoa, I was thinking about this person and they suddenly call me, but don't really pay that much attention. And some people are just like, oh, that's straight up bullshit. So don't come at me with that. So having that language and the frameworks, and also going through that process of self-exploration and healing with those tools has led me to be the person that I am today, and the bridge between the science and the ancient mysteries, which is the core of my practice.
It's really beautiful that all of the things that we're learning in science like backs up what we already know intuitively and spiritually. And I think that's just so amazing. I saw this TikTok video the other day that was like disproving manifestation in 3 minutes. And it was like a neuroscientist. And she was like, manifestation doesn't work because scientifically it's just gaslighting your subconscious to be retrained and then to identify the things that are in line with your manifestation. So then you'll seek those out more. So then they will show up more in your life. So it doesn't work. And I'm like, so you're saying it does work?
Isn't that like, okay, well, maybe you're telling yourself a different story, but the outcome is the same.
Exactly. The outcome is the same. Yeah, I think she was saying it doesn't work because it's not magic, it's science. And it's like, yeah, we've been knowing that.
Well,
We've been knowing that.
they, in a way, they're one of the same. Like the ancient mystics were the scientists. Like the witch doctor in the village was the one that knew how to use the herbs and the elements to bring healing. They just didn't have the tools that we have now to measure. And science has put really hard parameters around a lot of things, and it constantly proves itself not quote unquote wrong, but it keeps expanding because I believe that a lot of the times it's not that it is that science doesn't have the right tools to measure what we call magic, but that doesn't mean there can't be science. We can't explain it yet, but we might be able to get there sometime.
I think we are getting there with like quantum physics and all that. But yeah, it's crazy. I think the gap in science is like if a researcher, scientist, whatever, can't explain the mechanism of action, even if the result is the same, then it's all scrapped. And I think that's the biggest thing that I see that I'm like, oh, fuck. I have a a friend that's a dermatologist, and he was like, yeah, my cousin's a lunatic because he said the best way to not get a sunburn is awareness, is be aware when your body feels uncomfortable in the sun. He's like, that's so silly. Like, that's not proven. Like, we know that sunscreen is like the only option because they understand the mechanism of action. And I'm like, oh, but your cousin is right. Like, it is also awareness. That is just because it's not the same mechanism of action doesn't mean it can't also prevent you from getting sunburned.
Yeah, which is the same outcome.
Which is the exact same outcome. Yeah. There's also a funny joke that's like, what's the heaviest thing in the universe? And it's a scientist's ego. And I live with one, so I believe it.
I have a lot of friends, and yes.
Okay, so we've got some cheat codes that I'd love to talk through. And the first one is that your block probably isn't tactical. So a lot of the clients I work with are like, Courtney, I'm doing all the right things. I'm putting in the reps. I have my business set up. I'm going towards my dreams, whatever. I'm pushing. How do you know when your block is not just tactile anymore? It might be something deeper.
This has been said a lot of times before, but the definition of insanity is doing the right thing over and over again and expecting a different outcome, speaking about outcomes. So when someone is trying to do all the things and all the strategy, they strategize, they have a plan, and they follow all the action items, and they're still not getting a different outcome, that might be an indication that there's something deeper within them. And what that, in general, usually is, it's a limiting belief. And to the core, we all have the same limiting beliefs. They come in different outfits because they are related to different stories. So there's so many people out there that walk around this world carrying the I'm not good enough story. And that might be something as simple as when they were in 5th grade, their teacher told them to go in front of the class and they were made fun of. And from that had such a big impact in them that then they started seeing the world from that perspective of I'm not good enough. And with that perspective, is starting forming their decisions. And that's where the spiral starts. It's like, I'm not good enough, so therefore I don't deserve this. So then is the worthiness, which then people approach situations, job opportunities, projects from that lens of not good enough, not worthiness. So then they're not showing up with confidence, which then might repel some people. And it's this whole chain of reaction that comes from that very deeply rooted limiting belief. And like that, there's others, but at the core, those are the two main ones that I see in common that have such big repercussions and that people might be aware of them, but I don't hear a lot of people speaking on it like that specifically.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, usually there's a lot of stories before you can even get to that.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a lot of excuses, a lot of pushing something out of the way to even become aware that you have that story of being not good enough. But yeah, if you're in that story, it's going to create a negative feedback loop that's going to spiral and compound negatively. And until you change, and that's a lot of effort and energy to go against. You just have to constantly like push and push and push and push, and you're still not successful. Like that is frustrating. You're still not getting closer to your goal. It makes sense because you're in a negative feedback loop that's essentially a vortex and like sucking down any progress that you might even be making.
Yeah, and then there's also the self-sabotage component. So if someone doesn't feel good enough, they might have a good opportunity and suddenly they forgot to set up their alarm, so then they didn't show up on time for the job interview. And then it's a self-perpetuating story of I'm not good enough, therefore that's why I didn't get the job interview. It's like, no, it's because you don't believe you're good enough. So you didn't put in the effort, but you were not conscious of the actions that took you to not get there on time. And then it, like you said, it's all the stories around that someone starts making without actually getting to the root cause. But it takes a lot of self-awareness to be able to recognize that. And it's not pretty to realize that about yourself.
So for the people that are like, yeah, I have been like grinding and putting in the effort towards my dream, and I just feel like I'm not making any progress, and I probably have these limiting beliefs. What tools or resources, or where would you send them to start to like unearth these beliefs?
Therapy is a great tool. Um, it's a great start. I don't say that it's not the end all be all, but that is a great tool, especially to start having conversations. And a good therapist will start asking the right questions to where someone can come up with their own conclusion as opposed to someone telling them like, hey, I feel like you don't think you're good enough. And that might be too shocking to someone. And they might not be ready to hear that because it's such a delicate thing to.
Have you ever done EMDR therapy?
Mhm.
It's so powerful.
It
Whoa.
is very powerful.
That's like such an accessible tool that a lot of people have covered by insurance that they can. Yeah, it made me have seizures for like days.
Oh, wow.
It's crazy.
Really? Wow. How did they stop?
Well, it was just like the release of the stored energy and trauma. Like I was just would ferociously shake for days. It was crazy. Yeah. So it worked.
Yeah, it does work. There is a tool called Theory that triggers the shaking on the body to release tension and trauma. Because we store those in our body, and like we see animals in the wild, like after an antelope gets chased by a cheetah, once they're safe, they shake it off and then they keep going. We don't have those practices, so we just start accumulating these traumas in our body. So to your point, that's also a great tool. But that's more of a somatic tool than a mental tool to get to limiting beliefs. EFT tapping is also a great tool for that. Psychedelics under the right set and setting, meaning with the help of a guide that takes the time to know someone and tailor the session to their needs and go as low as someone needs, because that space is really delicate. And at the end of the day, what psychedelics do is that they change the way the electrical activity in the brain works. So by disrupting the usual patterns that our brain is used to be wired, where our sense of self is, by disrupting that, we're able to see parts of ourselves that perhaps we were not able to see before, or see ourselves from a different perspective, given we are in the right, safe environment. And that can be a great tool because it has the potential to change people from a physiological level. And at the same time, like with everything else, the real transformation happens after these big sessions, whether it's an EMDR session or a session with a therapist or a big transformational retreat with breath work, or um, that is just the beginning, because the real transformation happens when we apply the tools on a daily practice. And just think about it this way, like these stories didn't happen over time. That kid that got ridiculed in front of the class started creating this story that got reinforced every so often. Let's say that it got reinforced once a week. The teacher said something that made it feel not good about himself. So then that thought is creating an actual neural pathway on the brain that gets triggered over and over and over. So imagine like someone's 35 years old, and that happened when they were 10. That's 25 years of repetition of the same chemical pattern. So it's going to take time to undo that pattern and create a new one. So what I see happen a lot in the transformational space is that someone gets their hopes up because there's a lot of talk about how all these different tools can offer rapid transformation. And while that is true, it's not like a magic pill. Like any of these sessions take time. And while people might be able to get a big breakthrough, they still have to do the work afterwards to reinforce the new belief and the new pattern. So whether that's like a little affirmation in the morning, like some mirror work, like, the words really don't matter as much as how they make someone feel. So looking at yourself in the mirror, let's say that microdosing is part of your practice. So you create this little ritual, which is a repetition tool, again, a practical repetition tool where you get your morning drink. Say you like your matcha, you create your matcha, you'll play a song that you really like that gets you in this beautiful mood that's open, relaxed. You take your microdose and you light a candle. And in front of the mirror, then you say, Courtney, I love, appreciate all of you. I accept all of you. Now, the words really don't matter as much as how they make you feel. And then you do that every day. And at first, you might feel a little silly doing that. It was like, what am I doing? But over time, those words are, again, by repetition, your brain starts getting used to them. And it becomes a more familiar feeling to where it gets to a point where you're like, yeah, I am really cool. I really do love myself. Why wouldn't I? That is just so silly to think the opposite. But again, I've said this too many times, I feel already, it's by repetition. And there's so many different tools, whether they're like magical tools or more like spiritual tools or practical tools like breath work. That is another one, we could do if someone is feeling, let's say that belief of I'm not good enough, it's coming up, and someone is about to go into a job interview. Sitting in the car 10 minutes before, somebody can do box breath, and that's the timing can change, but let's say 4 inhales, and then you hold for 4, and then you exhale for 4, and then you hold for 4. So the box spread is like 4, 4, 4, 4. And that brings you back to center. And from that place, the mind is not wandering and creating all these different stories. So then someone can be more grounded within themselves, because usually also what happens is that there's a negative feedback loop that gets created between the body and the story. So, like, the story starts creating all these physiological things happening in the body. So, being anxious, for example, for this job interview might might elevate someone's heart rate. And then, their heart is beating faster, and then they start feeling more anxious, and they're like, oh shit, the body's feeling anxious. So then the mind starts making up more stories, and then the body is like, oh shit, there's stories. So then there goes like the negative feedback loop. So in order to break that, just taking 2 minutes to do a little bit of breath work, even if it's just long inhales, deep exhales, that can be a great tool that someone can utilize too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I have a fun marketing fact, and that is, if you're on my, if you listen to this podcast a lot, I always say that the number one indicator of like buyer behavior, meaning if I have a product and I'm trying to sell you, using tools of like psychology, propaganda, manipulation, I can guarantee that you're going to buy this if I have a lot of repetition to you. So I can like brainwash you by repetition. So this is like taking that, flipping it on its head and brainwashing ourselves. Brainwashing ourselves for good.
Yeah, for good.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, and that's like a whole other thing of brainwashing you. Like, people always say, no, there's marketing, and then there's propaganda, and then there's spin, and they're different. They're all the same. It's the same thing. People just talk about them different. Okay. Next cheat code is the intersection between the physical and the physical, physiological, and spiritual. So something that you said that I think is really important is that scent. I just love scent in general. First of all, a cheat code I have is every time you start your own ritual, especially with creativity or work, to have a specific scent, have a specific incense, a specific candle. My favorite thing to do, especially in my work productivity, is get a really fancy candle, like a $50 candle that you kind of feel bad about burning, and only burn it when you're working. And then it becomes this like fun treat. And then you have the sensory signal. But yeah, something that you said is that scent is the sense that always stays alive during a psychedelic experience. And I had no idea. So I'm curious to learn about that.
Yeah, so scent is connected to a more primal part of our brain. And I don't know if you've noticed, like, for example, if there was a specific smell in your house, like if there was something that was cooked around a certain time of the year, or if your classroom smelled a specific way, it can evoke so many memories, therefore emotions with that. So scent is such a powerful tool that I feel like not enough people take advantage of it, and it can be utilized for a lot of different things, especially to evoke different emotions and states of being. So, for example, in a ketamine assisted psychotherapy session, ketamine is a dissociative, so it makes people feel like disconnected from their body, but the scent is still there, which is really weird because, you can feel yourself, but not really. Like, your body, you might be looking at your body from the outside in, or you might be like touching your body, but it's just not really there. But the scent is still there. So there are some therapists that bring very specific scents, like essential oils, to evoke different memories in the client. Like, there are, for example, rose attar can be a very powerful scent to bring soothing into the session if someone is having a very emotional, deeply, let's say that a lot of trauma memories are coming up and it feels like a really intense emotional session. Bringing the smell of rose tar can bring soothing to the nervous system to then they can keep on going and exploring those same memories from a different place. And also for grounding, like if someone is out in the ethers and you want to bring them back, there's like cedar atlas and some other like woody type of scents. Like if you think about a tree, it has roots, so it kind of makes sense that those scents bring people back into their body in a more center space. So that like the used in psychedelic therapy, that's like one end of the spectrum, but that's not to say that it doesn't work on our day-to-day life. And if you think about it, like there's a lot of like hotels, fancy hotels that have their signature scent. Casinos use this a lot to keep people around. And I read somewhere that if you want to create a long lasting impression in people and you're working on your personal brand, which is something that you talked about so much, having a signature scent that makes you memorable to where you might not even be there, but your scent is there, then people are thinking about you.
You know that feeling when nobody really gets what you're going through, when you're surrounded by all of these people, but you're somehow still feel alone? I lived that reality for years until I discovered the power of healing in community. Reinvigorate and Restore is a luxury 6-day retreat in Cape Town designed specifically for women who are ready to move beyond survival mode to begin living your best life truly and authentically. Imagine 6 days in Cape Town, April 14th through 19th, by the way, in a luxurious villa where everything is designed for your restoration. Morning yoga overlooking the mountains, sound healing sessions, authentic connection with people who understand your journey without explanation. Imagine 6 days with people who truly get it, who see you, hear you, and walk alongside you in your healing journey. Time is limited, so book your spot for April. Again, the retreat is April 14th through 19th, and you can visit survivorsriseretreat.com to book a call with Paula to learn more. Your people are waiting for you. Nexus Point is a best-in-class outsourcing company that helps business owners and entrepreneurs scale efficiently and profitably by leveraging the global talent pool. Founded by entrepreneurs like yourselves, Nexus Point uses its vast infrastructure to find, hire, and train best-in-class talent from around the globe. At just 20% of the cost of hiring locally, Nexus Point will provide you with pre-vetted talent with college degrees and at least 3 years of work experience, often with US-based business owners. From executive assistants to social media managers, customer service reps, data entry and research analysts, and other back office functions, Nexus Point can help take you and your business to the next most profitable level yet. Use the special link or mention Slay the Gatekeeper and have the $500 search fee completely waived. Delegation is so important, but it can be so hard to find the right talent. So I highly recommend checking out Nexus Point. Again, you can book a call at go.nexuspt.io/Courtney Johnson or visit the link in the show notes. Today's episode is sponsored by my Sunrise Content Club. I created Sunrise Content Club because I really desired accountability in my content creation. How it works is we meet on Zoom every single weekday from 8 to 9 a.m. We get on the Zoom, we play some fun music, we have a little mindful moment, and then I give you a content prompt. And we spend about 45 minutes working on this prompt together. In this time, you can ask questions, get feedback on your content. And at the end, we all share our wins and we also share our content that we have created during that time. So we all get an initial boost because we are liking and commenting on each other's posts. There's also a really fun and supportive group chat where you can ask questions, share your content, get accountability. The Sunrise Content Club is an incredible way to stay consistent in your content creation and have community support. It is especially helpful with folks with ADHD who find value in body doubling. For a very limited time, you can join the Sunrise Content Club for just $99 a month. This is a very special limited time founders rate, and I am so excited to see you guys there. Join the Sunrise Content Club today. Oh my gosh, I need to commission you to make me a signature scent because I don't like perfume. It makes me nauseous. I need like an essential oil blend.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I would love that.
Your essential oil inhaler is really awesome. Like I use it all the time and mainly to transition from work to not work. Like that's my sensory signal that like I'm putting away the computer, I'm relaxing, and I've done this enough times now that just by smelling it, my body will just like relax. It's like, okay, work time is over. You can chill now. So thank you for that.
Oh, my pleasure. I love that. And I created that specifically to create a shift in someone's state, whether that's like someone's feeling discombobulated and all over and they need like to ground, or if someone's really stressed out and going into stories, just coming back to their body, like taking the time to take a couple of deep breaths and like taking the essence of this very powerful plants in. They have, it's not only a physiological thing, they also have their own spirits and their own magic. So by blending those in, it's like you're bringing in not only the physiological component, but also the assistance of these allies that are here to help us.
That's so beautiful. I love it. I love scent. Okay, next cheat code, and that is the importance of ritual. People might see ritual as woo-woo, but it's really an ancient tradition of how you incorporate things into your life via repetition. Like I always say on this podcast, manipulation happens through repetition, and that can be for positive or negative. We want to make sure that we're aware and conscious when other people are doing it to us. If we have a mission, maybe we have a really powerful mission that we want to enroll other people in, we want to get other people excited about, we can use repetition on others, and that is through marketing. We want to do that ethically, of course. But you're saying we can also use this in our day-to-day life, in habit building and in changing our life and in transformation.
Yes, and a lot of people already do. You said, like the morning coffee is a perfect example of a daily ritual. The difference is the intention. Like bringing the awareness of this is a moment to myself. And what is the intention for that moment? Like, are you wanting to start your day from a quiet place? Or are you really sleepy and needing assistance in waking up? That could be another ritual where you connect with this time for yourself. Maybe you set intentions for your day and say, today I'm going to get this, this, and this done. And I'm going to bring joy into my day today. So by creating that 5-minute ritual every day, let's say that it is to put an intention to your day by bringing more joy into your life, then you are signaling your subconscious mind, which going back to what you were talking about manifestation, and the scientists are saying that that it doesn't work because you're basically priming yourself for that. Setting the intention, in a way, you're priming yourself to see the world from a more joyous place. So therefore, you might choose different situations, different people, if what you are seeking is joy. But it starts with that 5 minutes of intention. And that could also be in the shower, for example. We all take showers, hopefully. And so for me, I have noticed that it is a non-negotiable that I have to shower after I work with a client. And I've noticed whether that's a belief or whatever, I have noticed that I just don't feel well the next day if I don't. It doesn't matter if I showered earlier in the day. Um, it's my ritual to use the water as a way to cleanse myself and just like an energetic reset. And it also feels good in my body. The hot water helps me feel relaxed. So it doesn't have to be first thing in the morning. It doesn't, like, the ritual can be whatever someone chooses. It doesn't have to be a specific length of time. It is a matter of the two things, the repetition and the awareness of the ritual. That matters. Those are the two key components of that.
Yeah, something that really helped me in starting to incorporate ritual is just like anytime I would consume any substance, like a cup of coffee, some tea, like having a glass of wine at dinner with my friends, like I started with just the intention around substances, and that really was helpful and spilled over into other parts of my life. Like, especially because, again, how often are we drinking coffee or tea or whatever? Probably a lot. You can even do it with your vitamins. That's
Hmm.
fun.
Yeah, pretty much anything that you put into your body.
Yeah, so you're saying that for transformation, the breakthrough comes through ritual and practices. I think that's awesome. Yeah, in the context of you're saying like you go to maybe a psychedelic experience or a transformational retreat or a breathwork retreat, a yoga retreat, maybe even just like a really great vacation where you feel really reset, whatever that might be. It almost, if you're not integrating it via ritual, it's like a crash diet. It's like you want to lose weight and get in shape. So you go somewhere for a few weeks, you lose 30 pounds. When you come back, you have to integrate it. You have to make sure you're keeping the habits or you'll gain all the weight back. Same, same.
Yeah,
Hmm.
exactly. And also something that a lot of people don't consider is like with any of those retreats, for example, that you go away from your environment.
Hmm.
And in that other environment, because it's new, it's easier to become something different because the environment supports that. But then you have that breakthrough, that transformation, and then you go back to your old environment where you're having the same conversations with people, where you go back to eating the junk food,
Hmm.
where that environment reinforces the old story and the old you. So it takes a lot of awareness and discipline and a practice to not fall back into old patterns, which is what happens usually.
So does changing your environment at home help? Like maybe that'd be a great
It
action
does.
item.
It does. Something that I recommend to my clients a lot is to have a physical object that is a reminder of their new state of being,
Mm.
to where they can see it every day, whether that is a new bracelet, for example, that they see it all the time, or let's say that they had this image of themselves wearing a red dress. Maybe they do a photo shoot with that red dress and then have it on their wall. So by having those physical reminders of that state of being, it's a way to reinforce the pattern in our brain and create that repetition to where it feels more real.
Do you ever have them like do the opposite and purge physical things?
Yeah, it depends on the habit that they're trying to break. Some people, let's say that they're in a toxic relationship, whether that's a friendship or a romantic relationship. I am not the kind of person that will tell someone what to do because ultimately that's everyone's personal decision. And I feel like it is more powerful and long lasting when people come up with their own conclusions. So I've seen it happen multiple times in my practice where somebody realizes that the relationship that they're in is not helping them and bringing them back to that old way of being. So they end up leaving the relationship ultimately.
Hmm. Yep, that's happened to me before. Okay. last cheat code is that woo-woo concepts are actually grounded. For example, lighting Palo Santo, and people might not try it because they have this idea of that's woo-woo, I can't try it, that's not for me. But you're saying actually a lot of these things are compatible.
Yeah, it's so a lot of my clients are like type A entrepreneurs, very logical. If I wave a feather at them, they're like, oh, what is that? And what are you going to do with it? And what I tell them is that there is so much quote unquote magic out there in this world that they're missing on just because they have that belief that it's not real or that it doesn't exist. So I start giving them examples in like bite-sized chunks where
So
they're
sneaky.
like, yeah. That's why I'm the bridge. Where they're like, whoa, you're right. That I just didn't pay attention to that. Or it happens so many times. And this is usually the trigger for them to be open to start noticing synchronicities around them where I messaged them and they were like, I was just literally thinking about you. And that happens with people that I haven't worked with in months, people that are on the other side of the country, where I just get what I call the cosmic ping and say, message this person. So I do. And they're like, how do you know I was thinking about you? Or how do you know I'm in trouble again? Or how do you know I cheated on my diet? Like, what kind of witchcraft is this? And so by just planting that seed of the magic that they're missing, I've noticed that that is a good introduction also by giving them permission to explore. Like when we're kids, we explore, and I call them experiments, like just run an experiment. And, with experiments, you're collecting data, right? So there is no desired outcome. Well, sometimes there is. But if you do an experiment just to see what happens, then all the possibilities are there. And then you're just collecting information to see what happens. So I give them little experiments here and there that when I present it under that framework, they're like, yeah, I guess I can do that. And like explaining energy to them from a place where it resonates with their mind can really open things for someone. And the example that I give them is like, when we go to different places, do you feel differently? They're like, It's like, okay, how do you feel when you go to a hospital? Do you feel chaotic energy? Do you feel like stressed? You know, um, okay, how do you feel when you go into a church? For some people, that might feel really peaceful. For some people, that might be really triggering. Depends on where they're at. How does people feel when they go to a funeral home? It's sad, it's heavy. It's because all these different emotions, have they vibrate to a different frequency. And basically, just what it means is like some emotions feel heavier, like literally heavier in our bodies than others. Like joy feels like light and airy and fun, versus when someone's going through grief, like they literally can't move because it's so heavy. And when people congregate in these places, their personal energy, what they're bringing into the space, gets added to what other people bring into the space. So collectively, all their emotions stay in this place. So that's why we can feel the energy in these places. It doesn't. So when I point those like practical things that they have been able to experience themselves in their body, they're like, okay, maybe energy is not just this woo thing that people talk about. And it starts opening the mind little by little to where they can then start experiencing the the more practical ways that these woo concepts might appear in someone's life.
Yeah, there's so many examples. I think like sports is a big one. Like everyone has been in an arena and felt like energy shifts massively. Obviously, like romance, love, sex, like you've probably had experiences where you're like, that was great, but there's something about the energy that was off, and like, or like, that was weird, but why is there this energy here, right? Music, I think, is also a great example,
Mm-hmm.
especially live music. Like, those are all times when you've experienced it. Have you read the book E Squared?
No.
It's a book that it's like a skeptic's guide to energy. And it basically is saying what you're saying. It's like, yeah, go ahead. Here's some experiments you can go do on your own and go try them. And it's really good.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
intrigued.
It'd be good to recommend that to
Yeah.
your clients because it's quite yeah, quite grounded and for the skeptics. It is so cool though how you have a scientific mind and you can be the bridge and you are educating people in this way. Um, because it's really fucking important.
It is. And, people have these experiences.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, what happens is that a lot of the times their logical, rational mind discredits the intuition part because we are so wired and it's so ingrained in our culture that the logical mind is the right mind. And that's how we should operate from the more masculine um, do, accomplish, strategize energy versus the feminine, which is more the intuition and the flow. And all of us have both in ourselves, but we have been trained to go with the masculine version, which is the achievement and the logical and the rational. So when those two are not in accordance, usually the logical mind overpowers the intuition
Mhm. Yeah.
because people don't give themselves permission to be curious.
Yeah, I think that ties back into what we were first talking about, which was you're doing everything right towards your goal, your dream, your vision, and it's not you're pushing and pushing and pushing and seeing no progress. Like tapping into your intuition and getting in that, like understanding energies, like that is where you're going to thrive. That is where there are loopholes that you've never seen. There are shortcuts you've never seen. There are people that are going to come in your way that maybe don't make sense, but you feel pulled to them. Like that is all happening for a reason. And that's the main problem that I see with my clients is if they're pushing, 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 it's usually because they haven't tapped into that intuition that's going to get them there a hell of a lot faster and so much easier.
100%. And a lot of the times, like you said, things don't make sense, but someone might get that ping like, oh, I need to be at this event. Why? I don't know, but I just know I have to be there. And then if they allow themselves to get curious and say, okay, I don't know what's going to come out of this, but I know I have to be there. So then they show up and they just happen to meet the person that they've been looking for to offer them that job, or that is going to be the connection to that person that is going to have them on their podcast. Or there's so much, again, magic out there that people are missing out just because it's woo or we can't explain it, at least not yet.
What's really cool about this magic is I also find that it happens so easily and so light that a lot of times you're like, don't even notice it. Like I have a client right now, and she's like pushing, pushing, pushing on one area of her business and set this goal. She set goal A. And she achieved goal A. Goal A already happened, came to pass, whatever. And it was like 3 weeks later. And she was like, wait, like I achieved that. It just was over here, not over here. Oh my God, that happened. I didn't even realize that happened because our brains can be so like, we think it's going to happen this way. So if we don't see it happen that way, it's like, oh, it didn't happen at all. Become aware of it. And I promise you it will. That's just my favorite thing to see. It's like, ha ha ha, it already happened.
Well, and to your point, like I also thank you for bringing that up because I experienced so much of that in my life. For example, I always had this dream of getting engaged in Paris. I didn't care to whom but it was Paris. Getting engaged in Paris was my dream. And then when I met my fiance and he said, well, I'm not going to propose to you in Paris. I was so sad and so devastated. I'm like, oh my God, Well, he proposed at the Great Pyramid. And that was so much more magical and more me and fitting to my energy and my work and everything that Paris would have been. But there was no part in my mind where that was even in existence. I didn't even comprehend or think about that. But then when I let go of that set idea that Paris was just not going to happen, it opened up possibilities that were so much better than what I thought I wanted. So by being open, there's also that magic that we can't even imagine that we make space for by being curious.
Totally. Yeah. And I think when we are dreaming, when we do have these ideas come to us, they're translated through our language and our perspective. So, like you're saying, it might not be exactly how it happens. I'll give an example. One of my clients, her dream, she's like, in my dream, I see like this house in San Diego with this beautiful backyard, and there's a lot of women there, and we're whatever. And then this house in Austin. And she's like, I think I own these houses. So, how am I going to buy the houses? Well, turns out this wasn't a house purchasing vision. This was, she has a San Diego retreat and an Austin retreat. And this was like a vision of what was going to happen at the retreat. And yeah, that's like another example where she was like, one of my clients was like, yeah, I need like $3 or $4 million to do this. And I'm like, you're already there. That's already happening. Literally look around to where you are right now. Like, you're in San Diego with a bunch of women. Like, congratulations, you did it.
Yeah. And it's a matter of perspective.
Totally.
Because then she could choose to say, well, it didn't happen because I don't own these houses, or say, yes, this is happening, and perhaps the $3 or $4 million are coming.
Yeah,
because this is already happening.
Yeah, it's already happening. It already makes sense.
Yes.
Beautiful. Well, Magdalena, where can everybody find you? Where can they find Rosa Mystica? And how can they connect with you?
So my website is Rosa Mystica, and that's Mystica. It's mystika.co, same company. And I don't know, are you going to put my Instagram handle? It's Magdalena Mystik. I don't post a lot about my work. I am working on that with you.
Yeah, I'm going to do it.
Yes, it's a work in progress. So I am posting more on social media about my work and what I do.
Yay. And now you have like 25 clips to post on social media. So the magic is working.
Well, it's already happening again. Amazing.
Okay, y'all, if you liked this episode, you would love my Patreon, okay? You get exclusive access to me, exclusive content, tons of other resources, and a lot of juicy shit, okay? So I hope to see you on my Patreon.